So, first thing first, how are you?
I'm doing really well. We're back here in Amsterdam at Melkweg actually for the third time. We played once here with Against the Current, once on our headline show earlier this year, and we're back again. And it's like an absolutely lovely spot here. Central, everything's around. You can literally walk and find anything around here. And last time we were here, we went to this pizza place and it got like this big old pizza pocket, and it was really nice.
It's a good memory.
Oh, always the great memories. And the show was good too.
Because I don't, you mentioned the show, and I don't know if you like this, but it's fully on YouTube, I found, because I just Googled, and then the show is on YouTube for some reason. So maybe somebody filmed it, I don't know. But it seemed like a good time.
That was a fun show, that one. I think because I saw that one was like filmed like the whole thing,
right.
And the way I found out, that, like my parents said, like we could see the whole Amsterdam show. I'm like, oh nice, they always see everything before I do. They're onto it.
So that's good. But before we talk about the record that's coming out and then the music that you've been making, I'd like to jump back to the beginning quickly. Do you remember what got you into music? What made you first fall in love with music?
Well, I think that would be playing the piano. Okay. I've been playing the piano since I was 7. I started originally because my older brother could play piano, and anything your older brother does, you want to do as well. So I started playing and absolutely fell in love with it. Just like I can't remember not playing, and that was just like always a part of my life. Whether it be after school having a jam, which then became into like performing with other people. Used to perform with my dad and my brother at like a nursing home where my grandma is, and like so it just became a part of just like everyday life, like progressively until now I get to do it every single day.
So can I assume then that you're from a very musical family? You mentioned your brother, your father. So what would they play, and what kind of musical vibe was around the house?
Well, it was a very interesting vibe. So my dad plays piano, my granddad plays organ. Okay. And my mum doesn't play anything. She used to play piano at a young age, but like absolutely loves music. My brother plays saxophone, is his main instrument, and I actually used to teach my 2 younger brothers piano every once in a while. And like everyone like loves music in the family. Like everyone has such a different taste. Like my parents literally had like ABBA on repeat, like ABBA and Meatloaf and the Eagles. Like that was like every single family road trip when we weren't allowed any say over the music that was in the car. So that was it. It was like whatever they wanted to listen to was it. So, but looking back on it now, I used to like really, really hate ABBA. But now I'm looking back, I'm like, they have absolute tunes. Like everything that they're doing musically and melodically is incredible. Like, well, now I see why it's great. But everyone like just like really loves music in the family. It's a great vibe, and everyone's super supportive of what everyone does.
So when you were able to decide what you listen to yourself, where did you go for?
Well, that as well is a good question. So I was literally, what I would listen to was very much based off just like what my family listened to and everything up until probably when I was in high school, and I started listening to a lot of metal. My friends like introduced me to that. And so that started off with like an Aussie band, Northlane was like one of the first metal bands which I liked, which is like pretty hard hitting. And then like that just grew, and like absolutely loved Periphery and Opeth and all that sort of heavy stuff. And then I really started getting into more pop music, and then I started getting into rock music, and I started getting into punk music, and then it just became like, the more you get into it, the more like the world of music opens up. And so that was in like, by the end of high school, it was just like absolutely like loving every style of music, and just like feeding from little bits here and there, which all sort of end up coming together.
In this time period, were you already writing your own songs as well?
That really came around like the end of high school when me and Josh like came together and started writing our own tunes, which at the start, you don't want to hear those. But
you still have
yeah. We do still have like the ones from like the very, very beginning, like at lunchtime we would go into the music room and like start just like putting things together, which turned out really interesting. Having like writing like a grunge song in like year 10 or 11 music class as the assignment, and we always had like fun things like that, like doing like a Beatles medley and like putting all the songs together and stuff like that.
When did you write a song that you were actually proud of then?
I definitely think like part of me is literally proud of like everything that we've written, even the stuff which I wouldn't show anyone. Like you're very proud of it. Like as you go on, like everything that we do, we're proud of. Like when we're doing it, because it's like, you know, we give everything our best effort, and then we look back on that and then learn from it to help grow into the next thing that we do.
When the band started to take shape, what was the ambition? What was the aim, so to say? Because kind of the way the band came into prominence is an interesting one.
Yeah, I think definitely at the start it was just like something that we wanted to do, and we're like, well, let's give it a burn. Like let's give it a go. So we always just like had a dream of like, literally the dream was just to be able to go on a tour. Like, because when you're from Perth, it's just so hard. Like the money that it requires just to even get across to the other side of Australia is nuts. And like we didn't have anything like that. So just to be able to play a tour was like the dream at the start. And yeah, so like that was just like the mentality at the beginning, was like, let's just give it a go. Let's have fun with it and see what happens. And then we just like kept on going, working harder. And as we started to dedicate more and more of our time to it, is when more and more opportunities started to then, you know, come about. And, you know, we just put all of our hearts and souls into it and just worked really hard to, you know, create everything that's happened to this date.
And then that kind of the call happens, or I don't know how it went, but John Feldman gets in touch. Just a quick question about that period, because you mentioned before the camera went on that you took a gap year and you went full for music to kind of to see what would happen. What was that year or those 6 months like, going to America, writing with all these kinds of people, and kind of getting a sense of what the industry was?
Yeah, that was like an absolute whirlwind. Like, yeah, to be cast from just like, you know, a small city to like right into LA, working with people that we've been looking up to for years, was like absolutely crazy. And that was a huge thing for us, because like, and even then we still didn't have a full like knowledge of what the industry was. That was like, it was like a very high level crash course, like so to say, because we come from absolutely having no idea beforehand to being thrown into the deep end with a world-class producer, with world-class writers from, you know, massive acts that have inspired us like all the way to where we are now. So you're literally forced to either, you know, it's like a sink or swim situation. And like the biggest thing that we had to do was just literally be open-minded to everything, take on board everything that people told us and the advice that they gave us, and like really try and sponge it all up, soak it in. And because if you don't do that, like you can just say, oh yeah, and go with what's happening, but if you don't actually soak it in, you're not going to be able to do it just like by yourselves when like the push comes to shove. So it was like being open-minded and, you know, working with the people that we're with, but also taking everything that we could on board, and then so that we could apply it in the future.
Right. What is one thing that you can share that you kind of learned to do there, or kind of realized this is a very important aspect of being a musician?
I think that definitely like one of the things is that like music is a collaboration. Music is like creative, but yeah, also collaborative, and like not just being like with the band or someone else, but also with yourself, with the rest of the guys in the band. Like that was the big thing that we realized when we got to like LA for the first time, but not even like it clicked then. This is like a constant like learning experience from the whole time, is that, you know, it's great to embrace other people's opinions. It's a huge thing that we've all been learning, because you have something yourself, and it's very easy if you have an idea for yourself to become guarded of that and to want to flesh that out in the way that you see fit. But then like majority of the time, especially when, you know, when I'm with these boys and they have like such like great ideas that add on to anything I can come up with, is that, you know, 95% of the time, or even like basically all the time, it's going to end up better than what I originally had in mind to begin with. And it's like a big step, like letting go of that, like, you know, little pinch that wants to like keep it to yourself, and just like let the guys on board. And, you know, that's something that with this record we've really like established, and that we're really proud that we've done, because like all four of us got together and just talked about what we wanted to do. If someone had an idea, it's there's like no shutting down, it's all openness, and, you know, everyone is accepting of other people's opinions, but like less accepting, but like more embracing. It's like we want to hear what other people can, less what they think about what we have to offer, but like how can we get what this person thinks and create that into something better.
But that's an interesting thought because, well, not everybody is able to do that because it requires to let your ego go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So how do you? Was it never an issue with the guys?
Oh, like, you know, there's always like little small times when you think, oh man, but like I really think that this is the way to go. But literally, when you're so close with each other, like we are, I think the biggest like thing that we do is we just talk, and that's we never like close anything off. We don't keep anything to ourselves because keeping something in, if you're thinking that way, doesn't solve anything. Like you literally express like how you're feeling, and then you get over it so quick. And so we're very lucky like to have like, you know, the lineup that we do, and that we can literally say what we're thinking, and there's no like negative response. That's like, okay, like I'm glad that you've told me that, like, you know, what you're thinking, and you move on. And that has helped so much, like so much, especially with the writing experience that, you know, now we've got like 4 different, very like different like musicians individually, like our musical tastes, like our inspirations, and also like our ways of writing are all different. So that could be like almost catastrophic in some ways, but like because we use that to, you know, get our opinions in and work together on it, that's when we've got like, you know, something cool happening where we've got all these different inspirations, all these different vibes, and they come together in a positive way.
Can I assume then that still, because there's certain songs, well, you being the piano player and then your history with piano, songs like Where the River Runs or Beautiful Drama. I think, no, it wasn't Beautiful Drama, it's, maybe it wasn't that one, but do these songs kind of come from you then? And other songs, should I look at it like that one offers up a kind of a sketch and then the rest kind of...
A lot of the time, like it's actually doesn't turn out like that.
Okay.
It's the song can start from anywhere. Like it can start from a guitar chord, it can start from a guitar riff, and then we could then form a melody and like a verse, a chorus around that riff, and then figure that the production is better suited to being a synth based or to being like, you know, to however it sounds, and then it can change. Like the songs evolve from like so much from when the birth of the song idea till the end. And so whatever like the production holds is like doesn't necessarily influence, you know, where the song has started and who's like contributed to that song.
And you personally then, what are you looking for in the song? What is kind of your neck of the woods?
I think what we all look for in the song is for when it's like finished to be like, yes, like we are proud of this song, this piece. And that's definitely something that, you know, towards the end of like the writing period, we realize is like a necessity, because we're going to be on the road touring these songs for like the next how many years to come.
Right.
And so when we're writing to finish off the album, it's like we want to be writing the songs that we can get up there every day and be absolutely stoked to be playing these songs to the people. And then if we're stoked about how they sound, we're stoked to be able to play them. That's going to then like translate across to everyone that comes to it live, and hopefully to the people that, you know, listen to the songs at home, that they can connect with it and have the same reaction as we do.
Right. And thematically then, is that a collective effort as well then?
Oh yeah, of course. Like with everything with the songs, it's all a collaborative effort. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to. I don't even know. Enunciate, I think is the word.
No, it's all good.
I have to enunciate better.
That was all me. I sometimes have trouble getting the words out.
But so okay, let's try to get into a couple of themes then, because well, the one I really enjoy is the theme of Amelie, which is almost like a nature nurture kind of
Yeah,
thought.
Exactly. Yeah.
So where did that come from? Where did that arise?
Well, literally, once again, stems from talking. We were with producer Linus, and we were literally talking all morning, which is what we usually do at the start of each day. Like you can't shut us up, and we went into the studio, and it's like I've been working on this like instrumental idea like just this morning, and then it was like the basis of like the instrumental track. Like, wow, this is sick. And so we started like putting melodies together and like talking about, you know, just talking about like what we want to write about. And yeah, it was like that nature versus nurture where like everyone is born the same. Like everyone is born equal, and like quote unquote, everyone's born human. And it's like the people that influence you, the people, like where you grow up, and like your whole environment of living can have an effect on the person that you become. But then also, on the other hand, it's like it's up to you that in the end defines the person that you become. Like people can be in really like dire circumstances, but then like they're the ones at the end that can also turn that around. And so we're playing with this as like these are very two opposite ideas that are going like that can conflict with each other, but can also like work as like a one idea. And that's what we were playing with Amelie, was like this. Amelie is in this character, like this girl that is growing up through her life in this like really like dire, dark situation, and it's just showing what these environmental factors like have on that person's life, and that the progression of trying to get out of that dark place.
And you already mentioned it yourself, but this was going to be my segue towards humans, because it is a similar idea, I suppose.
Yeah.
That thought, and so that idea of we all being both in control of our destiny but limited in a way. How did that kind of start to slip into humans as well?
I think it's definitely something that like we all face, just like even in our personal lives.
Sure.
It's like being in control and limited at the same time. It's sort of like the idea of like failure and growth. It's where it's like it's okay to have flaws, and it's also okay to have achievements. It's like the two opposites of both, you're human when you have those two things. If you have just one or just another, like you're sort of kidding yourself, because everyone has flaws and everyone has something that's great about them. And it's learning from, those bad days. It's taking that and using it as a positive and learning from that. And I think that's definitely something which, applies to every single day. Like and I like speaking for myself, it like definitely does. And I'm sure with a lot of other people. And so that was definitely something that stems behind, the concept of humans, is that everyone goes through this, and it's, it's nothing to be ashamed of, and it's nothing to be afraid of, like more like something to embrace and be like, yeah, like times can be tough and hard, but you can like turn that around to make it a positive, learn from that, and like help you to become a stronger person.
Right. When was the last time you had to remind yourself of this?
It does happen a little bit. You gotta, because it's easy to talk about it, right?
Sure.
It's easy for me to sit in front of the camera and be like, oh yeah, this happens to everyone, and we deal with it perfectly. But a lot of times, we don't. I will like shoot myself down all the time if like I mess up something, or if I know I could have done something better. I will keep thinking about that and sort of like run myself down. And it does take usually someone else, usually like one of the boys, to like help me get out of that place, which is ironic that we talk about it, but a lot of the times it does come from someone else, like someone else coming, like Sam, Josh, Lindo in the van, being like, mate, no, you're all good, like let's talk about this. And they're the ones that really like help you get out of the situation.
And then kind of tying in with this, the fact that you're touring and you're seeing so many different people all over the world, and kind of making that connection with, or trying to make that connection with them. What does that tell you about kind of that universality within us, kind of that everybody has its good times, has its bad times, but we can still enjoy a good music show? Yeah,
for sure. And like that's just something that's great about music in general. It's universal, and it can speak to everyone. And that's something that we're just very lucky to have with our music, and with the fans that connect to that music and, come down to support us like throughout, everything. Like there's been people that have been watching us since that time when we just started off and it was just a hobby, and people like had found out about us then, and they stuck through this entire time. Like it's taken a long time to get to Amsterdam. And we've been lucky enough to be here like 3 times now. But for the people that have stuck around that long, it's like, they're the ones that make or break bands. If you don't have fans, you don't have a band. And so that universal, the music being as universal as it is, like definitely does help bring people together.
What you just now mentioned is quite interesting, because there's quite some buzz around the band as it is. But like you say, it hasn't been something that was overnight. We actually worked hard, and it started a while ago. So do people have misconceptions of what it entails to be in a band, or what you do? Yeah,
I do think that can come about. Like we definitely do get asked like, oh, like when people assume that some things have happened overnight, and it's like, you know, it doesn't, which is fine, which is a good thing, because like we don't try and make it look, you know, we don't like show what goes on behind the closed doors.
Sure.
You know, that's just something about, you know, your work in general. Like people will go home, if they work a 9 to 5, they'll get the results out of that. But then, you know, a lot of the times they won't go like filming like literally all the hard work that they're doing.
Right.
And that's very similar with the band. Like there's a lot that goes in behind closed doors that, you know, that you just do as a band, and it's part of it. And it's a long road, especially like, but then there's the obvious things that people can see, which is like, you know, us being away from home, family, friends, loved ones, which for a long period of time, which is like, you know, another thing that comes with being a part of a band, which is, you know, it's an amazing thing that we get to be able to experiencing this side of the world. But, you know, it often like, you know, comes at that cost. And so it's about weighing up all of that, but then it also does motivate you more. Because like, if we're going to be out here, we're going to be doing this, we've got to be making the absolute most of it while we can. And so when we're out here, you know, if we have a day off, we're filling it with promo, filling it with interviews, filling it with like more acoustic performances everywhere we can, so that while we're out here, if we're out here doing it, we might as well do it to our 110%.
Yeah, well, one thing I want to mention is I've been doing a lot of interviews. I have rarely seen people that I saw you just now going out and just talking to the people who've been waiting around all this time. So that interaction with fans, and also, well, we mentioned the show here in Amsterdam previously. I think it's on Where the River Runs, where Josh jumps into the crowd and kind of people around him. That interaction with fans, how important is that? How important is that to?
Oh, it's very important, because like when people come to a show, like whether it's from then lining up outside, like VIPs, to, you know, the actual performance itself, like we want that to be like, you know, it can be an escape from whatever's going on in the outside world. Like it doesn't matter what's happening, if you're having a shit day, if you're having like, you know, there's issues going on outside, work, family, friends, like whatever it is, like you can come here, like this is our escape. Playing those shows, you know, performing the music that we've written, that we love, is our escape. And we want that to translate to everyone else that's, you know, in the crowd. And that's, if we can do that, like that's when we know we've had, you know, a good show and a successful night, because we want everyone else to get what we get out of our music. We want them to feel that too.
This is going to be terribly difficult to describe, but what do you get out of it? What do you get out of being on stage? And
mate, you're opening me up here. I'm loving this. I think, like, if we're talking about what I get from, like, that feeling that you get at the shows that you don't. I'm trying. Yeah, you said this would be hard.
No worries.
I'm thinking properly. I want to get like an honest answer here. I think that feeling that you get some nights that you like may not get in other nights is when there's it's hard to describe. There's like an energy on stage, is when you know, like especially when I know that everyone that's in the room is feeling it and is embracing it and is happy, like is stoked. So it's like, if I look at Sam, if I look at Lindo, if I look at Josh, I look at Joe at the sound desk, I look at Ollie our TM, I look at Mitch, our guitar tech, and I look at the crowd. When everyone there is like stoked with what's happening, they're feeling it, they're loving the vibe and having fun, like that is when you get like the feeling that everything that you've done up to now is worth it. And it's like, you know what I mean? Sure. It's a hard one to describe. And it also has a lot to do with leading up to the show as well. It has a huge influence like on the show itself. Like, you know, being in a band, your performance is like 5% of your day.
Sure.
Like the rest, the 95% of everything else is what leads up to that and what happens after. And so, you know, when you're in the van, when you're loading in, when you're packing down, when you're on a day off, and when you're helping each other out, like that's also makes into that performance when it's a team effort and you're working together, and, you know, just being here for the boys on tour. Like you got to be there for each other. Like people will have bad days, people will have good days. Like you can be having the worst day, but then, you know, that your friends that you're on the road with come help you out, and then that makes you feel even better when you're on stage. Like you look at them, they know you're having a bad day beforehand, but they've gone out of their way to help you feel better, like do whatever they can, and then you can speak with your eyes on stage, like knowing that, this is what's helping us get through.
Right. That's one of the better explanations I've heard. It's indescribable. The way I look at it at times is that I can try and equate it to sports when the team is clicking in a way where everything is working. But I'm not a musician, so I have no idea. Final question then. State of Mind comes out 13th of September.
It does.
When will the album be a success for you? Personally?
Well, gosh, that is another great question. You were asking some pearls here. That's a good one. I think there's many different stages of success when it comes to an album. Not that I would really know because this is our first album, but what I can think about, my personal thoughts about that, is that I feel like the album is successful, one, when all the track listing is done and we're all stoked on it. That's successful for us. And that's something that I think is very hard to reach. An album is like a baby, literally. It's like your child. You're nurturing it, you're helping it to grow. It's gonna have days where it's gonna piss you off, but you're gonna love the end product. And it's sort of like that. I can't remember who told me that analogy, but I really liked it. I was like, they said it a lot better than I did. But then I think the next form of success for a record is, one, having people connect with that, and then the live show as well. We have we put such an importance on our live shows personally, because that's what being an event is about. It's about writing the music and then performing that music. And that's what we love to do. Getting up there and performing the songs that we got in this record is going to be the best time. Especially we've got some new ones on there that I know that people haven't heard yet, and they're absolute rockers. And we are so excited to be playing them. We're going to be busting one out in soundcheck today that we're going to be playing on the American tour. So it's just going to be so fun, and that's what we're looking forward to. And I think that's another form of success, is being excited and looking forward to seeing people's reaction to it and performing them ourselves. Having that feeling yes, this is going to happen and I can't wait for it to happen, is I think a form of success. And I definitely think it's important to prioritize your internal success rather than the external success, because if you're not happy with what's going on, if you're not absolutely in love with the music that you're putting out there, then what's it worth? Exactly. We're all super stoked with the album. We can't wait for it to come out, and it's just going to be a really exciting time for the Faim.
That's very good to hear. All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.